Hi guys, welcome to TXC Tells All. Today we have some special guests that are going to talk to us about being a Black lawyer in the profession, and we're going to get into introducing them. If you're new to our channel, I'm Larita, and we also have another business partner, Tracy, and we talk about pre-law, law school, beyond, and we're grateful that these young women came to talk to us and our viewers today about their experiences of being a Black attorney. So before we get into it, I want to go around and let them introduce themselves. Tell me your name, where you're originally from, if it's different from where you practice now, and what area of law you practice. So whoever wants to go first.
I'll go first. My name is Cynthia David. I am originally from Long Island, New York. Came down to Florida for law school, went to Florida A&M University College of Law, and just ended up staying here. Someone offered me a job and, I never left. And right now I currently practice real estate and contracts, more specifically with banks and foreclosures and timeshare properties.
Okay. All right. So we have HBCU. Okay. And next up.
Sure, I'll go. Hey, y'all, my name is Cameron. I was about to do my YouTube spiel, y'all. I do have a YouTube channel, but that was weird. Hey, y'all, it's Cameron with K. But my name is Cameron Buckner. I'm an attorney and a content creator and entrepreneur. I am originally from Flint, Michigan, 810. I currently live in Birmingham, Alabama. That's where I attended law school at Cumberland School of Law. I am currently running a digital agency called Creatives Law Library, where we focus on influencer marketing contracts and help influencers make sure they get their coin.
Nice, nice. I'm Christine Telsey. I'm originally from Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, New York.
Okay.
Yes. I'm an OSU graduate, and I relocated back to Long Island where I went to law school. I'm currently an intellectual property attorney, focusing mostly on trademark and copyrights, but also dabbling in patent a little bit right now as in-house counsel for Untitled products. So very interesting, keeping up with technology. Yeah.
Okay, so we got a good variety of where you guys are from and what you guys practice. So that's good for our viewers because they have a variety of interests. So I know that in the legal field, lawyers women make up about 36% of lawyers. 5% of lawyers are Black lawyers, and then only 2% are Black women. So I'm glad to be joined by some of the 2% who decided to take that route. And I'm privileged that we made it that far. Before we get kind of into the questions, the specifics, I want to kind of do a little icebreaker. I don't know if you guys are on the Shade Room, but they did a recent post about lawyer babes. I don't know if you heard about it, but basically these young women who are lawyers, but they actually were saying that they're bosses, but they actually also had kind of like a physical. They were like, oh, they're cute too. So it kind of took off with social media, like, oh, this is how a Black women look. It is. So I wanted to kind of ask you guys, like, do you feel like, since you're a Black young attorney, do you feel kind of the pressure to look a certain way to kind of keep up with social media? Or what's kind of your response on when you saw that, I guess, feature from the Shade Room, if you've seen it or not?
I saw it. I didn't feel any kind of pressure. It was more for me, the relatability factor. I know for me, I didn't know any lawyers or attorneys, not on a personal level, before going to law school. So I remember being able to sit in the judge's chambers and realizing, oh, wow, this is just a person and their career happens to be a judge, or this is just a person, their career happens to be an attorney. So I think what I received from that is that we're regular people. We like to get cute. We love a brunch moment. We like to kiki. We're mothers, we're daughters, we're all of those things. And we look good too. So I think it was just showing the public, we're approachable, we're just humans, but we also get to the bag.
Okay, all right. Christine and Cynthia, did you see that feature on the Shade Room?
Yeah, that's actually a pretty popular hashtag, and I think paid, like lawyer babe. So, I was pretty used to seeing that online.
Okay.
And, just lawyers promoting. I like seeing Black women attorneys promoting their own law firms. I like that they focus on a lot of women who are solo practitioners. So, that was great. Shade Room has how many views? Right. I was like, okay, get your bag. That's amazing.
Right. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't feel any way about it. I mean, it just depends on the day what I want to look like, right? Like
Right.
some days my office really doesn't get a lot of like traffic because we work more so with corporations. So some days I can go in with the jeans and a t-shirt, and some days, you know, I'll surprise my boss with a full face of makeup and just come in. Like I have an amazing group of friends that are always on point with their style. My one particular friend that we met in law school and kind of like sisters now, she has her own fashion page as well as being, you know, a lawyer. Shout out to Custom Chics. But if I'm going out and, you know, just trying to present myself, I'm always going to step it up. Just as a Black female, I always feel like you have to look a certain way. You have to present just a little bit better just because all eyes are on you.
Okay. All right. Well, that's kind of a good segue when you said, like, as a Black woman, you almost have to present yourself a certain way. Since you make up the 2% of the lawyer population, do you feel that disparity? Like, do you feel like, oh, I'm part of the 2% when you're in your daily practices or just moving along? Do you feel like, oh, yes, it's not many people that look like me? Is that kind of there, present in your face?
Yes. In intellectual property, it's very white male dominated. And especially if you start getting into patents, like you're just not going to see anybody else there. So I definitely, it's interesting though, because I don't feel the pressure to present myself a certain way. I think as, you know, an ethical attorney, if you want to come in with, you know, prepared all the time, just as an attorney, and then, you know, going to these spaces where, you know, not a lot of people look like you, it's kind of like, well, this is my opportunity to let you know, like to diversify your experience. And let you know how amazing it is to work with a Black woman. And so I look at it that way. I don't view it as pressure. I just say, you know, especially like with negotiations, I'm sure you know, Cameron, like you just try to see, you know, meet the person in the middle and you know, see what their interests are, see where you can find, you know, key points where you can relate on. But yeah, definitely, you know, that's just my experience in IP.
Okay. All right. What about, I think, so Cameron, you're kind of in the social media law area. Do you, I don't know, like in that field, do you feel like you're the 2% or is there more people that look like you in that? Because it's such a new kind of thing that's branching out. So do you have a different experience?
Before really focused on influencer marketing, I did employment litigation. So listen, okay, it was me and me. At the previous firm I worked at, I was the only Black female attorney. There were 2 other Black male attorneys, and that was it. It was just us 3, and that was it. But it also was a benefit because we dealt with a lot of like racial discrimination and sexual harassment cases, and they wanted to talk to a female, and if they were a Black female, they really wanted to talk to me. So there's a benefit there. Like they need us in the room, okay? Social media, I feel like I'm the 0.5% because a lot of people still don't understand social media, how it works, the benefit of getting involved in influencer marketing as an attorney or as a business. So it's even smaller there, but I think now there's a lot more, specifically, I feel like more women are kind of navigating and dominating that area. There are more women influencers and creators, so maybe that's why. But it's still slim to none. It just, when you think of the grand scheme of things, like 2%, that's crazy. But I do want to give a little shout out to Jessica_Esquire. She owns Lawyer Bay. So yeah, I didn't want to let that slide. That's my girl. So I tried to get her. Like,
Okay. What about you, Cynthia? Do you feel kind of like I'm the Lone Ranger in your area?
Well, on my day-to-day life, not necessarily, because in my office in our branch in Orlando, my managing attorney is Black, I'm Black, and we have a pretty diverse staff. But when you open up the window, it's me and my managing attorney, and we're the 2 Black attorneys, you know, at our firm. But you know, they don't make us feel any certain type of way. Me, myself, I always believe my work product will speak for itself, regardless what color I am. I am a perfectionist by nature. Like it has to look right, it has to be right, you know, before I step in the room. And then when I step in the room, it's an added bonus that I am who I am. But I just think going to a historically Black college of law, I had a lot of friends that, you know, look like me. and practice like me and think like me, just intelligent or even more intelligent than I am.
Right.
And it's just a fantastic thing. And I'm grateful that, you know, I went to PWI for undergrad, and then to make that switch to go to a historically Black college, I feel like on my day-to-day life, who I see is great. Now, Florida, you know, in general, is different, right? It's very different in how you are, but there's not a time that I went in and not been able to, you know, prove what I am and why I have the same law degree you have, the same license you have. And I used to get like people who would kind of, I think, play down to me because they, you know, oh, she's young, you know, she's Black. I had one older gentleman kept calling me sweetheart, you know, and I really didn't enjoy that. So I you know, I started calling him older man, and I mean, and he got upset, and I was like, but I thought we were playing with nicknames. So, and then he was like, well, I didn't mean to offend you. I was like, my name is in all the pleadings, you know, all the notices of hearing, so it's not sweetheart, and we don't know each other. Well, so it's just like, I feel like after I assert myself, like he didn't play again. So I'm that type of personality. Like we're on equal footing here. Yeah, my age and my skin color, it might be whatever, but to me, it doesn't play a factor, and I won't let it. So
I love it. I love it. I mean, we can play this game. We can play this game all day.
If you want to, I got it for you. I'm still from New York.
Right.
And I was born in New York, so I feel it. Wow, that's crazy.
It's this. I'm glad you gave this kind of segue because you said you went to HBCU for law school, and I know Tracy and I went to law school in DC. So they recently had a black judge be appointed to the U.S. Court of Appeals for DC, Ketanji Brown Jackson. She was previously in the U.S. District Court for DC, so she had already been there. But she went to Harvard. So what is kind of your position? We did a video about it doesn't matter where you go to law school. Check that out for all viewers. But it doesn't matter. So do you see it making a difference? Like, can you kind of excel up the ladder if you go into a different law school and it's not an Ivy League? Because in this situation, she's moving up the ladder, but she went to Harvard. What about somebody that didn't go to Harvard who's Black? Do you think it makes a difference as far as like what you're capable of in your career? Are you kind of limited based on the law school you went to?
I think that you're not limited. It really depends on you and your drive. And as an attorney, as a law student, you know, researching is key. Research the law school you're going to, and then prepare. Like, okay, am I going to a top law school? Am I not? Because if I'm not, do I have the hustle? Can I network? Can I, you know, make up for the network that's not already embedded in my institution, right? Because Ivy League, it's like, you go there, now you know people. Like you're going to get not just a job, but probably a great job, right? And so you just have to be prepared. I don't think you're putting limitations on yourself by saying, okay, if I go here, there's no way I can do this. It's going to be harder for me to get here. Like, yeah, it may be harder, but rise to the occasion. And then if you feel like, you know, I don't really have that in me, I'm not a people person, I don't have that drive, then, you know, keep taking the LSAT till your score is where it needs to be to get you into the Ivy League education. And, you know, it'll be an easier segue for you. But yeah, I don't think there's, you know, unless you go to a certain school that, you know, you're not able to attend certain things, so.
Okay, what do you think, Cynthia and Cameron?
I feel like Christine was saying, it's about your hustle. FAMU was a newer law school when I went, didn't have a strong alumni base. So these places like Harvard or Duke, they have a strong alumni base and you get your foot in the door off of the name. When I came to FAMU, I realized that the alumni base wasn't strong. So my personality and my hustle kicked in. I joined Phi Alpha Delta and started like on their little Reach network committee. And I started cold calling attorneys, judges. I formulated luncheons and I was on everyone's like Rolodex, like, oh, let me call Cynthia, or, you know, I know that person, let me put them, you know, in touch. Cause there are, like you said, people with personalities who are not, you know, go-getters or afraid to reach out. So I created environments for the students to come and have these opportunities in a more intimate setting, you know, where the purpose was to give them an outlook. So for me, you know, FAMU, even though I loved it, it was more so a means to an end. Like I had to get that bar card. That's what I wanted to do, but it was never a limitation on myself on what I can do and who I can reach out to. Now I remember, I applied for a job through a recruiter, and she basically said to me like, "Oh, we don't recruit from FAMU." So I went to one of my, higher mentors, and I told him what she said. He's like, "Oh, I know her. She's trying to recruit me." He's like, "I'm gonna dead her." So and he was like, "So who is she to say that?" So it's just knowing the right people, having a strong hustle, and it don't matter where you come from if you can make it happen from yourself.
Right.
Okay. What do you
I
think?
agree. I mean, everything they said times two, I agree. And I also think I'm always for networking in general, because I know people that have went to Ivy League schools and didn't get opportunities. So it's not just you may get it on the table, but if you don't know how to eat it correctly, then what you gonna do with it? So you want to make sure, yes, you are in certain rooms and you're in certain places, but like you have to put the effort, do the work, have a great personality, have good character, have good ethics, and all those things in order to stay where you're at. But also, I think it comes down to understanding what are your actual goals. I think some people, especially law students that aren't really sure, they think if they have to go to an Ivy League school, but it's like, sit back and think, what are your job goals? What are your career goals? Do you even really want to work in big law? Do you want to start your own practice? Do you want to work in more of a smaller firm? So you may not have to go to an Ivy League school in order to achieve your level of success that you desire. So just keeping that in mind. But I believe you can go to almost any school and make anything out of it.
Okay.
And having the alumni, I love that you brought that up. Like an alumni can change the game. Like Cumberland, I mean, the alumni is crazy, especially if you want to stay in like the South. So I knew like no matter what, the doors would be open.
Right. And I think that's true. I'm glad you guys kind of brought different perspectives and said like, okay, it does, I guess, affect it based on your personality and what your goals are. So kind of like set realistic expectations for yourself, and then based off of that, kind of go from there. I know what Big Prop, the civil rights attorney, he went out to Florida State. That's not an Ivy League, but he's all plastered across the news. I mean, and you could be, although they say, "Oh, we've never had somebody from your school," well, I can be the first. Thank you. I'm glad to be the first, so it doesn't mean that just because nobody has been there yet doesn't mean that nobody will ever be there. So kind of set that expectation. I guess your personality kind of sets it up for yourself. I'm going to shift gears a little bit. In your daily practice, do you find, I guess, any kind of discrimination based on who you are? I know Cynthia kind of touched a little bit about somebody calling her, sweetheart or something like that. Do you find that there's kind of some kind of discrimination based on the client or even your other colleagues about you being a Black female attorney? Or have you not had, hopefully maybe you haven't had those experiences, but I just figure I put it out there just for anybody who may say, "Oh, they never said anything about it. It's the Lone Ranger on it." So do you have any stories about experiences that you're like, thank you for that experience. I didn't want that experience, but I guess it's still just going to shape my journey.
Mine's usually about the age. It's usually about my age, because I feel like I look kind of young, and I am young. I'm 27, but it's usually about the age. So whether I was at the previous firm or even currently, it's usually like a comment like, "Oh, are you the law student? You the paralegal? You the secretary? Oh no, baby, I did 3 years of law school and I passed the bar. Like let's get it together." So it's usually around the age, or like I did a CLE about influencer marketing contracts, and I know people were like, "What she know?" Trust me, I know a little bit more than people that don't know they log into Instagram. So a lot of older attorneys that's been doing like entertainment law and contract law, like they all sitting here like, "What she got going on?" But it's just different. So I'm able to bring a different perspective. So I've had a few comments like, "Well, how long have you been doing it?" It's like, it's not about the length of time, it's about the information that I know and you don't. So sometimes you got to stand your ground on some of that. And it could be because I'm Black female too, but they're going to get this black belt today in this age.
I've definitely, unfortunately, had some not so great experiences. When I was starting out my career in Jersey, I've had everything like, "Oh, you're the intern." Closing the court door on me because I can't be the last person that was supposed to go in. I've had some breaks where I had to quit, where my senior, a white conservative man, told me to sit down. Like, I'm like, there are things that, the way that you're talking to your staff, which is, primarily people of color, it's not with respect. So I think, depending on where you are, if you're at a smaller firm, but, definitely Jersey has its ways about it. And so I had to experience that. But I absolutely experienced like, "Oh, you're young. What do you know?" And you just have to like double down on like, okay, well, this is what I know.
Right.
And this is what we're going to accomplish today. And you don't even have to address it. Just, you know, as far as advice goes, like when you're faced with that, you don't even have to address it. You can say, you know, I would appreciate if you would, you know, call me by this, or, you know, I am. Just state your title. This is who I am.
Right.
And then, you know, if there's other people that were just like beneath you, really disrespecting you beneath you, just pass over them. And who's the other partner? Great. That's who I'm talking to. You know,
Right.
like you don't even have to have discourse with them. Like that's a form of, you know, you're
Right.
not on my level. So I don't even have to just
Right. You're invisible to me.
Right. I don't
Next. Thank you.
Right.
Okay.
Right. I think, Cynthia, did you, because you kind of touched on yours a little bit. Do you have any other
A little
stories?
bit. I think my day-to-day, like all the firms that I've been at, I've been practicing for 10 years, and I think I've been to 3 firms, but this is my 3rd firm.
Okay.
And I haven't had any personal experience where inside of my firm, it's always outside counterparts that I have, you know, issues with, because once I step in and I show them like what my skills are, people tend to, you know, come to me more. But what I've noticed the difference is that there's more grace for people who are not Black, you know? And when I was like, if I did or said that, I would be out the door.
Right.
People would be, you know, down my throat. So I always have to like present well. But I've been like my 2nd firm that I was at, I worked for a firm that specialized for HOAs and condos. And then when you attend a lot of these board meetings, it's especially in Florida, a lot of older white people. And sometimes my boss would be like, I don't want to go. You just go. And I'm like, are you sure? He's like, well, I know you know, I know that you can do the job. So just go. So I would go and they're like, oh, is you know, so-and-so attending? I was like, he is not.
You got me.
It's just me today. Let's start the meeting. And they're like, oh, well, Michael says, like, I understood. I took the notes. I know, you know, what we have to deal with. I remember one time he gave me a trial and he was like, hey, it's in 2 weeks, you know, go ahead and do it. I was like, huh? And you know, I started corresponding with the client. They're like, well, we wanted Michael to do it. And then he was like, yeah, the best we got is Cynthia, knowing that he's never done a trial before. So they wanted him because he was managing partner and an older white male. And he was like, little do they know, I don't know what I'm doing. And that's why I pulled you in, because you know more than me. So he had a lot of confidence in me, but it took a lot for the client to have the confidence in me, because I was younger, you know, and I in my head, I was like, they didn't say it, but I just feel like I was a younger Black female and one of the only ones at the firm. But it's always within my firm. I always prove myself. There's no question.
I mean, your work speaks for itself, and it kind of goes into, I think they were talking about Simone Biles, and she was calling herself the greatest of all time. It's like, but I mean, has anybody proven her different? I mean, she's not bragging if you like, you can back it up, right? So like, she backs it up. So if I can back it up, then it's not necessarily bragging. It's basically saying these are my abilities and don't question my abilities. I've actually already proved myself.
Exactly.
I wanted to kind of ask you guys, I know you have taken different paths. What's kind of the biggest obstacle that you face taking the route of becoming a lawyer? Like, it can be student loans. Like, that's the biggest obstacle. I don't know. What's kind of the biggest obstacle that you've overcome, or that you're currently trying to overcome, so that our viewers know, like, it's not all a walk in the park. There's certain things that kind of make you who you are because you had to overcome something else. So what's one obstacle that you want to share with our viewers?
Definitely the learning curve of, you know, my parents immigrating here and not having any lawyers in my family or anyone in the legal field to kind of like help me navigate. You just have to realize you're going into this institution where people, you know, their parents are lawyers, they have prominent law firms, like they have an advantage. And so that was definitely difficult for me, like just realizing that, and like, oh my gosh, you have like such an advantage, and you knew about, you know, what the exam was going to be before the semester even started. Like, you've had brunch with the professor, like, I think that it was just like kind of a shock. So yeah, it's just a learning curve. But again, like we've been saying, you know, you have to go out there, you have to network, you have to vouch for yourself, and you really have to see what resources are out there. That's all a part of being an attorney. Like, how do you find the answer? You have to, you know, you have to search, you have to ask the right questions. And so for me, I think that was the biggest hurdle for me.
It's funny you say like you research. I think like putting on the lawyer hat. I did a video about that. Like think like a lawyer. I called a customer service person the other day. And he's like, they asked him a question. He said, I don't know. I was like, okay, are you gonna use your resources to find the answer? Like, I don't know if not because I guess it might feel like, yes, I might not know the answer, but I know how to use my resources to find the answer. So I was just like, I'll wait for you to use your resources to find me the answer because I don't know. It's not gonna cut it for me. And I was just like, is that a lawyer thing? Like,
that's definitely like you have to have an answer.
Right.
And you can't just run away from it. Like, you know, you have to figure it out.
Right. So I'm just like, was I expecting more? I was like, no. I mean, holding him to that standard. You need to ask somebody else. Ask the person sitting next to you at the call center. Ask somebody, but come back to me with an answer, not the wrong one either. So
right.
It's funny that you said use your resources. So Cameron, Cynthia, what's one obstacle that you want to share with our viewers?
First off, the bar exam, but moving along.
That's real.
I would probably say for me right now, taking the risk of leaving my 9-to-5 law firm job, because I loved employment litigation. In another life, I would be doing that too, but you can't do both. Only one to me.
Right.
But probably trying to navigate this non-traditional route without a ton of guidance, because social media is so new. It's so many different questions. It's not a lot of case law. Right. There's not a lot of attorneys that are in this space that I could kind of look up to in order for them to help give me some guidance. Right. And I'm also a new lawyer, so it's like new on top of new. So that would probably be it. Just trying to figure out how to navigate this space and still juggle being a creator, because I don't want to let that go. So finding my comfort zone in entrepreneurship as a lawyer.
And last but not least, Cynthia.
For me, it's a little extension of what Cameron was saying, is just kind of finding your niche. Coming or going into law school, we all think we're going to save the world, right? Like, I'm going to fight for all the rights. Like, okay. So, you know, and I know Ben Crump. I've met him, had many conversations. I've, you know, known some of the attorneys that were on the Trayvon Martin case. So I just like, you know, heard from them, experience, but I was like, that is not my zhuzh, you know? And, you know, I had an internship in family law. And that wasn't my thing, you know, feelings and stuff weren't my thing to deal with. I'm very, when it comes to my job, very atypical, straight laced. You know, so I kind of fell into the real estate game. You know, after I graduated law school was the big foreclosure boom in 2000. It started in 2008 and went forward. So I kind of found my niche there, you know, and started climbing into different interests where it's like, now I understand 10 years later where I want my final focus to be and drive, and just kind of going down that path and having honest conversations with my managing attorney now, like of what I want and where I want to see myself in the firm. And then if I don't see it there, I might have to look elsewhere. And thankfully, she's such a awesome person that she has understanding, and she's not like telling like, oh, she's looking to leave, but she understands that I'm young and I still have aspirations to reach.
Yeah.
That's good to have that support.
Yeah, I was just gonna add, like, you know, everybody in law school wanting to, you know, save the world, fight for each other's rights. And, you know, in the Black community, they're like, if you're not doing civil rights, but also like, you are, you know, you need attorneys in every sector to protect your rights, literally property rights. Intellectual property rights, like when they want to make a film off of your grandfather, you don't know, oh, well, I shouldn't ask for any money. No, you're, you know, like that's gonna help, like that's gonna help the next generation. And the same for content creation. Don't let them steal your stuff. Don't just, you need an attorney of color that's gonna let you know, even, you know, within that practice area, that, hey, guess what happens when they see a Black creator, and guess what happens when it's a white creator? Like, you know, these are the things, this is what you can do. These are your rights, like own that. And that's just, you know, just as important in my opinion.
And just as simple as representation matters. Like when you see more Black women that are lawyers, that are navigating different spaces, it's important. That alone to me is civil rights. Like we're showing, hey, you can do it too. There's so many different areas that you need to navigate. Like you're just saying patent law, You the first Black female lawyer that I know is doing patent law. I ain't never
Yeah.
seen. So for me, that's inspiring, even though that's not an area that I want to go into, but just showing that we are here, we are present, and we are here to stay.
Right. That's good. That's good. So we're gonna wrap it up. I know I'm gonna put all you guys' biographical information in our description box for our viewers. But before we sign off, what's like one thing you want to send off to our viewers, like a piece of advice that you always tell, I guess, people who are aspiring lawyers or current law students? Like, what's one thing you want to send them off with to kind of encourage them?
My motto is, it's very basic, but it works. It's what's for you is for you. And I just kept telling myself that throughout law school is it's easy to look at other people, their studying habits, or look at other people's goals and them achieve this and that. And then you forget that's not even the lane that you're in. Whatever is meant for you, God is going to place it for you, no matter how difficult it may be, no matter how it may seem like there's no way I'm going to be able to navigate this space alone. Or like you were just mentioning earlier, Christine, where you were saying like people were already ahead of the game. Like, how you already got the essay? I would tell like some of my colleagues, like the conversations they had at the dinner table, we didn't have. I'm from Flint. We had how to survive, how to get the next plate. So it's just understanding that your path is meant for you and it's going to work out no matter how difficult it may seem. What's for you is going to be for you.
Great. And Cynthia and Christine, what do you got to encourage our TXC Tells All viewers?
Whenever I go back to the law school and talk to some of the students, I always encourage them to keep strong relationships and just increase that hustle. No matter, what your grades are, as we've discussed, it doesn't matter sometimes. If you know the right people or if they trust you in return, you can have infinite possibilities. So for me, it's always keeping the relationships, always keeping a, strong networking system behind you and creating even more, because you just never know when you need to go into that Rolodex and who you might need, who you might need to refer. Relationships matter in this professional world. My old contracts professor, he used to say that, A students, I think he said, A students become judges, B students become professors, and C students become millionaires, because they have a balance between work and networking. And, I took that to heart. It's a part of the game. So yeah, keep the hustle strong and network.
Absolutely. I just say, don't be discouraged if you're confused about what what you would like to practice. I definitely like to tell law students to shadow as much as they can, because law school does not prepare you for practice. It's not experience. Every internship they're not all created equal. Some internships you're just going to sit and watch, and others you're going to be working. And they're going to, those are the internships where you actually get experience. But, there's a lot of competition when it comes to even trying to get internships. So if you can just, get a mentor, an alum, to give you the opportunity to just shadow them for a day, just to see the day in the life, because you might think that you're interested in this area of law and it's shiny, it's great, and I hear all these great things, but you want to be able to make the most informed decision when it comes to where am I applying to. So it definitely makes a difference, and just, try different things out and you'll figure it out.
Thank you. I think that was good advice. You had a variety of perspectives, so I think that was helpful to our viewers. A lot of them ask, like, how do I know? Do I need to pick my practice area now? Like, some of the comments, like, they're so like, but it's like, okay, take it easy. Like, you might end up starting out one way and end up a certain way, and be okay for that journey. So I'm glad you kind of already confirmed it for the people that are watching. So thank you for joining us today, Christine, Cynthia, and Cameron. Like I said, we'll put all your information in the description box, and we'll see you guys in the next video.